Cosatu News headlines today. Cosatu embarks on Phase 2 salary negotiations with PRASA. NUM welcomes the Constitutional Court ruling, and a call is made for sign language to be officially recognized. The South African Transport and Allied Workers Union, SATAU, started the second phase of salary negotiations at the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa on Wednesday. Last week saw SATAU, along with United National Transport Union, table their demands within PRASA's bargaining unit. Included in these demands is a 20% across-the-board salary increase to be implemented on the 1st of April 2017. SATAU is also demanding a medical aid allowance of R1,000 for all junior employees and a R200 per shift risk allowance for those members whose work exposes them to safety risks. This includes train drivers, security personnel, rail maintenance staff, access controllers, and all operational grades. The unions are also demanding an increase in the following allowances: a R20 night shift allowance increase, R150 standby allowance per shift for junior officials, a R50 traveling allowance, and a book-off allowance of R50 for mainline passenger and on-board services. Unions are also demanding a shift from total guaranteed package to basic salary. The first phase of the negotiations started last week Wednesday and ended on Friday. The current round is set for 2 days, with Phase 3 unfolding on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of March. The last round will take place on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of March. Negotiations looked set to be intense due to a huge margin between the Labour's 20% increase demand and the rail agency's offer of 3%. The negotiations ended in a deadlock on Thursday. On the 22nd of February, the Democratic Nursing Organization of South Africa held a successful march to the South African Nursing Council and Department of Health, where they handed over their memorandum. More than 10,000 members participated in the march. The NOSA Communications Manager, Sibongiseni Telihlazo, gave this report back.
As the NOSA were happy with the march, more than 10,000 marchers took to the streets of Pretoria to raise the concerns that nurses in this country are faced with in their facilities. Of course, we handed over our memorandum to the Department of Health, where the Chief Nursing Officer did accept it on behalf of the Minister. And we're also happy to report that on Monday, the National Office Bearers of DENOSA will be meeting with the Minister of Health on Monday at his offices, together with his staff. We feel that it is taking us somewhere, and we feel it is a positive result of this march. We also handed over a memorandum to the South African Nursing Council, where we raised a number of issues with the Council, which we hope that our memorandum will be taken into consideration, because for a number of years now, our pleas to meet and to raise these concerns with the Council had fell on deaf ears. And we hope that a success out of these 2 marches will be felt by nurses in terms of positive contribution to the improvement of conditions of work for all health workers in this country.
The National Union of Mineworkers is happy with the Constitutional Court judgment handed down on Tuesday against the Association of Mineworkers and Construction Union, which had attempted to challenge a collective wage agreement that was signed between the Chamber of Mines and the majority trade unions in the gold mining sector in 2013. The legal question was whether the collective wage agreement concluded between the Chamber of Mines and the majority unions in the gold sector could be extended to bind members of AMCU. The collective agreement was extended in terms of Section 23(1)(d) of the Labour Relations Act. It stipulates that a collective agreement binds even employees who are not members of the union's party to the agreement, provided those unions have as their members the majority of employees employed by the employer in the workplace. NUM General Secretary David Sipunzi said that the NUM views this as a victory for the centralized collective bargaining forum at the Chamber of Mines, because this court ruling strengthens Section 23(1)(d) of the Labour Relations Act, which says that the employer can enter into a collective wage agreement with a majority of unions, and that must be extended to the minority unions. As the world observed International Mother Language Day on Wednesday, a teacher at a KwaZulu-Natal school for the deaf used the opportunity to emphasize the call for sign language to be recognized as an official language in South Africa. A municipal event was held in KwaMashu to commemorate this day, and one of the teachers, Asha Udith Kelawan, said recognizing sign language as an official language would make communication between those who are deaf and those who can hear easier. She emphasized that sign language is very important as a medium of communication for the deaf, and that about 1 million people in South Africa are deaf, and therefore it has to be recognized. Lastly, Minister of Finance Pravin Gordhan delivered the 2017-18 budget speech on Wednesday, the 22nd of February. Union Federation Cosatu had expected the budget to take into account the creation of jobs amongst other things, but said the budget speech fell short of many of those expectations. This is what National Spokesperson of Cosatu, Sizwe Pamla, said about it.
Well, as Cosatu, we feel really that this budget presented by Finance Minister is consumption-based because it has left little room to support the labor-intensive sectors of the economy. We need to create jobs. This budget is not going to help us to do that. From where we stand as a federation, we have some areas of the budget statement that we welcome, but mostly it is a disappointment. It's a lost opportunity. We would have hoped that the minister himself would have really followed suit on the radical economic language by actually implementing a transformative budget that was going to leave the past behind. But we don't think this goes far enough. Although there are progressive areas like the progressive taxation that was introduced, we think that is very much something to be welcomed. But as we go forward, we still have got a lot of work ahead of us because we have almost 10 million people unemployed, and this budget is not going to ensure that those people are brought back into the mainstream economy.
And that is all the labor news we have for you today. Happy Friday, comrades.